All right, Shalom. First and foremost, I'd like to give all praises, honor, and glory to Yahweh Ba'ashem, Yahushai Ba'ashem Rakakodash. And I also want to give double honor to the apostles and the elders of Great Millstone. And I also want to say peace and blessings to those who are late here in this word in truth and in sincerity. All right. So I just want to do a quick lesson, concerning what today is. All right, 4th of July. These people getting ready to, barbecue, celebrate the Independence Day of America, all right, which we understand according to scriptures to be Babylon the Great. You see, and this lesson is really more towards you so-called blacks, Latinos, Native Americans, especially, all right, you Northern Kingdom Jakes, all right, but you Southern Kingdom Jakes too, but Northern Kingdom, you really ain't got nothing to celebrate here concerning Babylon the Great, seeing that, the whole Donald Trump thing going on. This should be a sign. This whole thing should be a sign that, all right, this is not your rest. Babylon the Great is not, where you should be celebrating. But a lot of our people, they celebrate, Independence Day, because they want to believe that this is their rest. Okay, but let's get that in the book of Micah, chapter 2 and verse 10. Okay, just like every other holiday here in America, it's just a distraction, man. Because best believe behind the scenes, Esau Edom is making moves while these people barbecue, celebrate, pop fireworks. Esau's making moves behind the scenes, man. Okay, and by the time they get back to their normal life, their everyday lives, Esau Edom is gonna already have done a lot of things to put his agenda into effect. Salaki. It says, Micah 2 and 10, arise ye and depart, for this is not your rest, because it is polluted. It shall destroy you even with a sore destruction. Right. All right, this is not our rest, man. Babylon the Great is polluted. You see, and honestly, and I know brothers and sisters, all believe, thinking the same mindset. We want to get the hell up out of here, man. All right. We get certain, treats, for the lack of a better word, like benefits or whatever here in Babylon. But we know that this is not the end all be all, man. But you got our people, that's celebrating this thing as if, they're going to be here another 50 years, man. Really, the only people that should be celebrating, quote unquote Independence Day, all these Edomites, man. All right. Because Esau, Edom they're really the ones that got their independence from the British. Or you niggas ain't do shit. Y'all were brought here on slave ships. Of course, all 12 tribes, was brought into captivity on slave ships, man. All right, but Judah, which is the Southern Kingdom, they go. It seems like they go the hardest for Esau's holidays, man. And that's crazy. The Southern Kingdom so-called blacks, whether it be, so-called Negroes, Haitians, or, West Indians, right? They go the hardest for Esau's holidays, and that's a shame, being that this man's holidays is really built upon, your downfall, built upon you going into captivity. When you really, dig deeper into the history of Esau's, holidays, it really goes back to the downfall of Israel, man. Okay? But let's get the book of Hosea, chapter 4 and verse 6. It says, my people are destroyed for lack of knowledge. Because thou hast rejected knowledge, I will also reject thee, that thou shalt be no priest to me, seeing thou hast forgotten the law of thy power. I will also forget thy children. So Jacob is destroyed for a lack of knowledge. They're destroyed, spiritually, all right, and eventually being destroyed spiritually, lead to your physical destruction, man, because, a lot of a lot of Israelites, they're going to put that pork on the grill, barbecue that shit, eat it, and from that diet, it's going to come, pretty much all kinds of health issues, man. Okay? They're going to drink themselves to sleep, right? So, my point being is that, this is not your rest. Our liberation, our Independence Day, so to speak, is going to come when Yahushua return, man. Okay. Matter of fact, our liberation is gonna really start when, this society collapses. All right, and Yahweh Shah is coming is the cherry on the top, man. All right, but when the society collapse, that's gonna be when, all right, our salvation, our liberation starts, man. We need salvation from Esau. Okay, let's go to the book of Baruch, chapter try to find it right here, chapter 3 and verse 8, and it says, "Behold, we are yet this day in our captivity, where thou hast scattered us, for a reproach and a curse." You see, we're still here in captivity, man. All right, for a reproach and a curse, because pretty much, after the 4th of July, people go back to their everyday lives, and Esau gonna go back to looking down on Jake. Jake gonna go back to being that servant to Esau. So, what is there really to come from this? All right, once again, this is Esau's holiday to celebrate, not ours. Okay, we have high holy days written in the scriptures, but these are too grievous for Jake, man. Okay, it says, "For a reproach and a curse, and to be subject to payments, according to all the iniquities of our fathers, which departed from the Lord our power." You celebrate these holidays for one day, and then reality hits you the next day that you got to go back to work, or you got to go deal with this and deal with that, deal with drama. This is still captivity, man. All right, we're still subject to payments under this, man. All right, even the Edomites that celebrate, Independence Day. All right, you're still, you're really still in captive, to Great Britain, because like it says in the book of Revelation, I want to say the 13th chapter, it said how the beast had the mouth of a lion. All right, which that really is going into, Great Britain, because that's where, they get their orders from. All right, the Rothschilds, the rich elite, they live in Great Britain, and they tell, the leaders here in America what to do, So there's really no independence really, because you're still under the order of the elite over there in Britain, man. And you're still subjecting to payments under them. All right. So at the end of the day, what we need is the society to collapse, man. And it's getting there. Okay. And as I made mention earlier, let's get this real quick in the book of Isaiah, chapter 10. Verse 1, it says, "Woe unto them that decree unrighteous decrees, and that write grievousness which they have prescribed." Okay, because what's getting ready to happen is a whole lot of laws starting is going to be put in place. All right, and the way Esau does this is he distracts these people. He distracts them with what's the term for it? Bread and circus, right? He distracts them with bread and circus, for a season or for a certain period of time, so that he can get his plans going, man. All right, and then when he's done with that distraction, he got another one going on, because after 4th of July, he got another holiday coming. I want to say Labor Day, if I'm not mistaken. I don't keep up with the holidays here in America, but I think Labor Day is next. What they going to do? They're going to barbecue for that too. They're going to celebrate that too. Okay. And while they're celebrating, a whole lot of moves are gonna be made. All right, to pretty much, put you Americans further into captivity, man. Okay, because martial law is coming. All right, all hell is getting ready to break loose. There's gonna be a police state real soon. And you already see it happening now with what they're doing to the tribes. Okay, Issachar, the Northern Kingdom in general, they're catching hell from ICE. Okay, from Trump, what he's doing. Okay, and of course the Southern Kingdom is going to start catching it too. You dealing with the Haitians, the Jamaicans, so on and so forth. Because this is a war on you tribes. But eventually it's going to be a war on the people. Okay, let's get that scripture real quick. In the book of Revelation, chapter 12 and verse 12, and it says, Rejoice, Deshlakim. Therefore rejoice, ye heavens, and ye that dwell in them. Woe to the inhabitants of the earth and of the sea. For the devil is come down unto you having great wrath, because he knoweth that he have but a short time. Okay? The devil being the so-called white man, Esau, Edom. He knows that his time is short, so he's going to come down having great wrath. Okay, so while you're celebrating and submerging yourselves in pork, barbecue pork, brisket, whatever you want to call it, and beer, there's going to be a certain time and period to where, you're not going to have those dainties no more. It's going to be taken away from you. Okay? And then it's going to become serious. But once again, when they do become, like the scripture says, then shall they know that a prophet have been among them. Okay? So, Lord willing, this lesson was edifying. With that, I want to give all praises, honor, and glory to Yahweh, by Hashem Yahushai, by Hashem Kakodash, and double honor to the apostles and the elders of Great Millstone, and peace and blessings to those for elect hearing this word in truth and in sincerity. Until next time, I say shalom.